Hey, Jimmy and Nelly here from Warren Nelly Dog Food. There's a lot of emphasis on the quality of ingredients that goes into dog food, and I think that's really important, especially after so many years of dogs eating really terrible quality dog food. But the picture for canine nutrition is a little bit more than that. So I just wanted to go over a few of the important things to consider when choosing the food for your dog. So the first thing to think about, and this is the most important thing, is that the food that you feed meets nutritional guidelines. So this is the number one thing that I see when I analyze homemade dog foods, but also with some commercial foods. I look at them and I can't quite figure out how they can be nutritionally complete and balanced. So basically, if they're not, it means they're missing key micro and macro nutrients, and it means that over time it's pretty likely that your dog will get sick. So it's really important that all of the nutrition your dog needs is there. So there's two kind of standards that we follow. The absolute minimum is the AAFCO Complete and Balanced guideline. So that's sort of the one that your vet will tell you you need to meet, whether you feed raw food or dry food. And that's got a really wide range on it, so it's pretty easy to meet that. But there's another standard called the NRC guideline, and that is much more specific. It's all about optimal nutrition, so that's the one that we follow. So the next thing to consider is the mineral balance. So minerals are important because unlike some vitamins, your dog can't produce any of them, so they need to be in the diet. And the other issue is that it is unable to eliminate some of them. So it's really important that they're in the diet, but they need to be in the right amounts. So obviously this goes across all of the different minerals that your dog needs, but the big one is calcium and phosphorus. So you need to make sure that there is enough calcium in the diet, but also it needs to be in the correct ratio with phosphorus, because that's how minerals work. They work in a ratio. So you're looking for about 1.3 parts calcium to 1 part phosphorus. So if you're not feeding Warren Nelly and you're feeding something else, definitely contact the manufacturer and make sure that they've got that looked after. The next thing is fats. So fats get a bit of a bad rap these days, but are super important to have in the diet. So the big one, and I think everybody knows this, is omega-3 and omega-6, and you want about 3 times as much omega-6 as you have omega-3. But these are really the kind of categories of fats, so the type of fat sort of fits in one of these categories. So you really want to make sure that the actual types of fats are also represented. So in particular, LA, ALA, EPA and DHA. And so all of these come from different sources actually. So that's why we always recommend to have fat coming from an animal, plant and marine source. So for example, in our kangaroo and chicken recipe, we use, obviously there's chicken, but there's also plant sources, so chia and coconut oil are the main ones, and then we also have fish in there, so that's got the EPA and DHA covered. The thing with fats is they're not shelf stable and they oxidize really quickly, so freshness is super important. And so there's a really good Karen Becker thing about this actually, about freshness. So what fresh food is. So if you can't leave your food, if you can leave your food on a table and it won't get taken away by ants, it's not fresh. So that's all dry foods essentially are not fresh, and their fats have been compromised because of that. So it's really important to feed as fresh as you can, just to keep those fats intact. So if you make your food at home, freezing is the best way to keep it stable, and you want to feed it within 3 months. So obviously we make our food each week, and we have a pretty high turnover with that. So normally within about sort of 4 to 6 weeks we sell out of all of our food. So it's super fresh. The other thing to consider is functional foods. I won't go into it too much right now because it's kind of a whole other topic, but I will just say that functional foods like turmeric, reishi mushroom, coconut oil, So they're not essential parts of the diet, so they don't necessarily provide any of the vital nutrition that you need, but they do have sort of side health benefits. So for example, turmeric doesn't really help balance the recipe in terms of nutrition, but it's a really powerful anti-inflammatory, and it has such an amazing impact, and they've done a lot of clinical trials on this, so we know that it really boosts the immune system and it helps the gut. So it's a really wonderful thing to have in the diet. It's not an essential thing, but I think if we're looking to have the best food that we can, definitely turmeric should be in there alongside a whole host of other functional foods. But I'll talk about that at another time. So I hope that's been helpful. If you have any questions, let me know. And thanks for listening.